This is Tessa Keogh, and if it's Tuesday, it's time for a Legacies Tuesdays tip. Today I thought we would discuss a couple of things: Hangout reminders, a group effort, sample files, family reunion games, and a little bit more. And this is kind of a wrap up from the past month or so of our Hangouts and some questions that were asked and just a little bit of follow up. So let's go ahead and get started. First off, I wanted to remind people, because we have a number of new members again this month, that the Legacy Virtual Users Group community has monthly Hangouts. And our Hangouts are always on the third Thursday of each month. And I promise to put the Hangouts-on-Air on the genealogy calendar, starting with our September one. Our Legacy Virtual User Group Hangouts start at 1 p.m., and that's Pacific time, and that's Google willing. If it's a few minutes after 1 p.m., it's usually because we've had a technological glitch, so just bear with us. And what we'll do is we'll send out an event invitation to serve as a reminder, and from now on I have these scheduled for 1 week before the actual Hangout. You're given a choice of responding yes, maybe, or no. If you respond yes or maybe, Google magically puts the event in actually your computer's time zone, and it will show up in your upcoming events. If you have notifications set, you'll also receive an email notification. If you respond no, that's sufficient. No worries that you have to explain to anyone. We realize that people have work or personal obligations, or perhaps you're in a different time zone that means you can't make the live hangout. If you do respond yes or maybe, and you'd like to join the panel, perhaps you have suggestions or questions on the topic, please post that with your response. Now, as to the Legacy Virtual Users Group community, it's a group effort, and I really believe it takes a village, and that applies to our community. So, for community posts, please be sure to put in questions and answers or tips and suggestions in any of the topics. For our Hangouts, please lend a hand, suggest some topics, offer to present or co-present, or be part of the viewers panel. And on Tuesday's tip, suggest a tip or ask a question that one of us can answer for you. Be willing to play with Legacy. I think this is really important. A number of the questions that come in or comments are about how to do something in Legacy, and a number of Legacy users, I think, really only use a very small percent of what's available in Legacy. It's a really robust program, but you have to be willing to play with it. Now, I want to point out 3 things. Number 1, it's really hard to break Legacy. All you have to do if you're having any issue is look either for the Help button or the Reset Default button. If you hit the Reset Default button, it takes your program back to what you had before you started playing with it. So definitely take a look at the Help and Reset Default buttons. The second thing I'd tell you is to make your own sample file. I don't know about you, but I don't know Asa Brown. My family wasn't here back in the 1700s, and I don't really have a lot in common with them. And so what I've done is made my own sample file. I use 2 generations and I keep it simple. I added events, I revised sentences, I added some sources, I played around and ran a report, read through it, decided whether I liked that language or not, and if I didn't like it, how I wanted to change it. You know your family best. You know the names, the dates, and the locations that you're familiar with. So go ahead and make your own sample file. And finally, check out the archived Legacy Virtual User Group Hangouts-on-Air. These are at Tessa Watch, and you can also click through and take a look at them on our page. A number of times we've covered a specific topic which maybe you've asked about, whether that's cleaning up your master sources, working with locations, making your own timelines, that type of thing. So go ahead and take a look at that. Follow along with the archived version. Watch it a few times if you need to, and then if you have questions, be sure and follow up and ask us. We're always happy to help. Now, in our May Legacy Virtual Users Group Hangout, we discussed using Legacy when planning family reunions. And I mentioned games, but I didn't really give you any examples as I was just starting to get those together. And I wanted to provide you with a little bit of follow-up. So here is some of what's on tap for the Keogh family reunion. We're going to have word search puzzles, and as you can tell from looking at these, I just gathered some information from my legacy database about places or surnames that the Keoghs have come from or gone to, and I put those into an online word search puzzle. Now, in the first instance, over on the right-hand side, I just told the program the size of the word search puzzle that I wanted, and it comes out in a rectangle. And this is at Puzzle Maker at discoveryeducation.com. Now, I did find another website, which was A to Z teacherstuff.com, and you could put your word puzzle in different shapes. And as you can see, I chose a four-leaf clover, and that's because the Keoghs are originally from Ireland. So go ahead and play with word search puzzles. This is a really good game to have for a lot of different age groups. Someone can work alone or they can work in a group. So make your own word puzzles and you can print them out. The next thing is a maze, and I like to use mazes with younger children. It's a fun thing to do. You can put your own caption in, the start and the finish, and you can also decide the size that you want. And so I would probably choose a smaller size maze for younger children with a larger one for older children or adults. So choose a simple maze. Again, you tell the program what you want it to do and have some fun with that. That is also at Puzzle Maker at discoveryeducation.com. The one that I like and the one that's going to be a little bit more involved is a game that we're calling 20 questions, and you've probably played this before. I went through my legacy database to come up with questions about our family and our extended family, number of children, number of grandchildren, the town or village where someone was originally from, maybe when they came to the United States, all types of questions that you can ask here. And I'm going to have a series of 50 questions, and I'm going to let the individuals who are filling out the 20 questions choose which questions they want to answer, because some are more involved or more difficult and they're worth more points, and some are really easy. So this can appeal to different age groups. I'm going to have them work in teams, and if they're smart, they will always include an elder in the family on their team to get some of those family history questions correct. Now, I just put this into my Microsoft Excel 2013 program. I have the questions as well as the answers. They're covered up, but if you're a member of the Keogh family, you can already see some of the questions that I'm using, and my point system so that I can keep track of it. Now, some sites to get you started if you're planning games for your family reunion are to do a search using Google or Bing or whatever browser you want, and do the search and include the key terms family reunion with words such as games, ideas, printable reunion games, or free games. I'd also tell you to check out the Olive Tree Genealogy by Lorraine McGinnis Schultz. She comes up with great ideas every year for their family reunions, anything from trivia games to scavenger hunts. And that can be found at Olive Tree Genealogy, that's all one word, .blogspot.com. And finally, read What You Should Do at a Reunion by Edith Wagner, and she writes for genealogy.com. She has some really good ideas about icebreakers, games, and planning tips to organize a great family reunion. And that's found at www.genealogy.com/genealogy/34_reunion. Now, next Tuesday, the tips will include a few more games. I'm working on our scavenger hunt, speed elder interviews, which is kind of a play on that 2-minute dating interview, some icebreakers and how I'm going to break people up into teams or how they can find their match. And in the meantime, check out all of our Tuesday's tips at the Legacy Virtual Users Group community on Google+. And remember, if you were at the July Hangout, you heard that we are not going to have a Hangout in August. We're taking August off for those last lazy summer days. And we will be back for our Legacy monthly Hangout on Air in September. In the meantime, you can always check in with Tuesday's tips every Tuesday, as well as post in the community at any time. So, we'll see you next Tuesday.